Hi there, and welcome to the solution to the quadratic formula problem sheet. You can see my face in this one, as apparently it makes it more personal, which is what we need in this time. Maybe you missed my face, it's been so long. Right, so we'll have a little walk through this one, and we'll talk about the use of the calculator as well as we go. So use the quadratic formula to solve this equation. So you'll never be without the calculator and anything at A level. So we just simply need to assign A, B and C into our quadratic formula, which we've had in the notes here, so feel free to write it out as often as you want. It does have some uses, so if you ever don't want to complete the square and want your answer in third form, we can see, especially up here from this example, that that gives us the answer in third form straight away without having to complete the square. So in this case, B is already negative, so negative b would be positive 4, plus or minus square root of negative 4 squared. Remembering that's a squared number, so it'll always be positive, so you can almost just forget and drop the negative sign there if you want to. Minus 4 times a, which is 7, times c, which is negative 6. Now again, the more you use this, I wouldn't really expect anyone to write that. I would just expect to see a plus there, and then forget about that negative, because the two negatives will combine to make that one positive anyway. And then square root, divided by 2 times 7. Okay, so just pop that into the calculator, which I'll bring up onto the screen now, and pause quickly to watch the whole thing. Okay, so you can see that I used the fraction button. You can see that I've just put the positive version in for now. You can see that I dropped the negative 4 there and here, because I didn't need it. So I'm going to hit equals, so there you go, there's a third form. There's your answer, x equals 1.25. No one writing it on the video, you see it. And then to get the second answer, just press up and back, and we'll simply go and change this to negative, and we get the second solution there, which we can see is minus 0.68. So how would you do it on your class quiz? Because again, you don't really get any points for solving a quadratic formula, or a method to solve a quadratic formula at A level. So is it easy to do it? Yeah, let's do it like that. So in your menu of your class quiz, mine's the graphical one, so it will look slightly different. But I think if you looked at the simultaneous equations before, there's something called equation. That's the orange one on my screen. I think it'd just be called equation on yours. So you want a polynomial, there, poly. So for me, I'm going to press F2, and then it says degree. So quadratic is degree 2. So degree is what is the highest power of the lead term, so x squared. So you could solve cubics and all sorts here. And then you can see you've got the ABC. So then you just literally need to pop in what they are. So 7, negative 4, and negative 6. Hit equals. And you can see there's the 1.25 and a minus 0.683. Okay, so at A level that's all you'd be expected to do. So some of you will need to actually use this and use the quadratic formula, but for others it's just picking up these little tiny skills along the way to make your life a little bit easier, make you more A level ready. Okay, so there's a little bit here. This is probably the most important sheet that you've done so far, because there's a lot of detail here. So it talks about whether a graph has real roots or not. So if we look, in fact, if we take this one, it's a good example here. So if we take the quadratic formula, when we find the answer to any quadratic, what we're actually doing is, if we take example 2, we're finding the solutions to, so you think about what we've done, we've said, here's some quadratic, let's put A, B and C in. And then we said, well, what if y is 0? So put a 0 there. And then, so y has become 0, y equals 0 is this x-axis here. So when y is 0, what values do you get for x? And you get these two solutions, okay? Now, that's assuming you can solve the quadratic formula. However, that goes away. However, sometimes you might not be able to, okay? And so you've got these different, let's go back to the calculator, you've got these different scenarios. So if we'd had some different numbers up here, so let's say for instance So that's 16, and 4 times 7 times 6 is bigger than 16. So if I make that a minus sign there, and hit equals, you get this math error, i.e. it returned, let's see if we can get that back. This here is now a negative number, and I'm trying to square root a negative number. I can't, there are no real solutions, and therefore there are no instances where the graph cuts the x-axis. There are no solutions, and so we end up with scenario 1 here where there are no solutions. So we end up with this thing here called the discriminant, which is a nice condition. We don't have to actually solve the quadratic formula. We can just say, oh, well, if I put b, a and c into here, if it's less than 0, just remember you can't see my cursor, then this is scenario 1. Okay. If it's greater than 0, well, that's the situation we had before. We can square root it because it's positive, the discriminant, and therefore we get 2 real solutions. If it equals 0, then let's have a look back again. So let's turn this. So imagine this was 16 minus 16. We would have 4 plus 0, if this was 0 here, and 4 minus 0, both divided by 14. It gives you the same number, so there's only one answer. Okay, so that's this scenario here. So if the discriminant equals 0, the plus or minus becomes redundant, and we just get the same solution twice. Okay, so we have these 3 scenarios using the discriminant to check. Okay, so we'll go for the example, but here for this one then, so given that the quadratic equation blah has exactly one solution, find the value of k. Okay, so we'll set out, and this is the difference to A level. Now we're going to set out what we're going to say. We say, okay, so if one solution, then b squared minus 4ac equals 0. There's our equation. Now substitute in what we've got. So b in this case is negative 1 squared minus 4 times a, which is k in this case, times c, which is 5, equals 0. Okay, so you have 1 minus 20k equals 0. So if we solve this, we get, so add that and divide by 20. K equals 1 over 20. So k equals 1 over 20. This has exactly one solution. So if we drew the graph, it would look something like that, going through the y-axis of 5. Okay. So already here, really, you're doing A-level work. For the next question then, given the quadratic equation has real solutions, find the possible value for k. So it has real solutions, s, 2 plural, not singular. So therefore this time b squared minus 4ac is to be greater than 0. So again, popping stuff in, so we've got a, b and c. So we've got b squared, which is a 9. So 3 squared minus 4 times 1 for a times c, which is negative k. So straight away I'm going to make this positive because we're timesing. We're taking away all of that, but times that together, so it'll be a negative number. So we've got 9 plus 4k has to be greater than 0. So k has to be greater than negative 9 over 4. And if that's the case, then we get real solutions. And then finally here we've got the no real solutions scenario. So we're going to make the statement, so therefore b squared minus 4ac must be less than 0. So b is negative 7, but we're going to square it so it becomes positive 49, minus 4 times a, which this time is k, times c, which is 1. So we've got 49 minus 4k has got to be less than 0. I'm confusing myself how poorly my handwriting is. So k has got to be, let's bring that up. So take that to that side. So k has got to be greater than 49 over 4. Okay. And we've got left 1 minute. So for each of these then, this is just solving them. So because the expectation is that you would just use your quadratic solver, I'll pause the video and just roll the answers down for these ones because there's just a bunch. And then I'll just scroll through. Okay. Okay, then, so for question 1a, we get 0.876. Well, you can see it, I'm not going to read them out, so there you go. You can just pause and whatever and give them a little mark. So then, with this next 3 questions, how many solutions do they have? So you have to solve it, you don't have to find them, you're just going to use the discriminant. Okay, so we're going to set out that what is b squared minus 4ac for each one of these. So if it's greater than 0, 2 solutions, equal 0, 1 solution, less than 0, no solutions. So just running out of time on this one, so I've just start up a new video.